like peak comedy. It's hard to believe that anything else regarding Karina could get even funnier, but that would certainly.
But I'm tired. Thank you again, man. Thank you.
All the times that Pomerania Doom is like when Karina's posts, like trying to act like Karina's like totally right, and then Karina's like reposting all that.
Maybe
and
we should.
her doing it. Oh my gosh, dude, be hilarious. Anyways, I just thought that was all pretty funny. But now on to the important stuff. Because after recently informed their members about the strike, and it seems like there was a little incident that occurred at the meeting involving VA Jennifer Hale, which she goes on to apologize about, which we'll take a look at. On top of that, it also seems like some VAs are saying that the strike has done more harm than good, and calling for it to end. First, the context on how we got there. It all began with this video game strike member info meeting that SAG-AFTRA officially held on April 29th. They described this as, we invite all performers who work the Interactive Media Agreement to join us for a strike update meeting. Hear from the Interactive Media Agreement Negotiating Committee and lead negotiators about where we stand with video game employers. The committee would also like to hear directly from members who have worked under video game contracts, so please plan to attend. The italic text reading, this meeting is open to paid up SAG-AFTRA members in good standing. Paid through April 30th, 2025. No guests are allowed. Parents and guardians of performers under 18 years old are welcome. On Blue Sky, voice actor Kyle McCarley with a profile pic definitely letting you know that he's on strike says to all SAG-AFTRA members working in video games. The Interactive Committee has just finished another round of negotiations and requests your urgent attendance at an informational meeting tomorrow.
Every time I think about SAG-AFTRA, I always think about that Team America and the Film Actors Guild.
RO, 6 p.m. Pacific, register, blah, 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 stuff we already read. And after the meeting, he went on to say, woke up this morning feeling very proud of myself.
But yeah, I learned like today that apparently my work is like shutting down in 2 weeks. And I didn't even hear it from the boss. I heard it from a coworker.
Is it just a temporary thing then?
Yeah, but Vargan was telling me how like if I was a full-time worker, I potentially could have I don't know, get a lawyer up, I guess. I don't know. That's what I was telling Vargan, and he was just like, you should get a lawyer. But you're a temp worker or a part-time worker, so I guess you can't. But yeah.
Right.
SAG-AFTRA brothers, sisters, and non-binary siblings in the video game space. Thanks for showing up and making voices heard.
Oh, because they said brothers, sisters, and then they had to like add that so that people didn't get mad at them.
Let's win this fight. And that context takes us to
where did that come from?
Who,
Damon.
best known for her work in video game franchises such as Baldur's Gate, Mass Effect, Metal Gear Solid, Bioshock Infinite, Metroid Prime, Halo, Overwatch, Star Wars, Knights of the Old Republic, and Guinness World Records, calling her the most prolific video game actor in 2013, I guess. And on May 1st, the other day, she said, I want to sincerely apologize for losing my temper during our meeting. I let my emotions take over and I take full responsibility for that. My delivery was wrong, even if the concern behind it was real. So presumably the meeting that's being referred to is the SAG-AFTRA meeting that we went over just a moment ago in this video. Continuing with her statement, she says, the truth is I'm heartbroken for our industry, for our colleagues, and just for the countless people affected by this strike. This isn't just about actors. Recording studios, developers, casting directors, agents, production teams, our entire ecosystem is hurting. Some are already losing their homes. Others are struggling to provide for their families. We are close to a deal. That's why it's so important our members see it for themselves, both the win secured and the very real consequences of not reaching an agreement. Minimizing progress or pushing for more without acknowledging what's already being lost is dangerous. This moment demands clarity, compassion, and compromise. Let's come together, not just to end the strike, but to protect the community we all care so deeply about. Now, of course, we don't have the specifics for what she's apologizing for here during the meeting because we haven't seen that. But whether you agree or disagree with her or some other opinion, at the very least, I think the stake is better than what Karina Boetker had said, referring to her now infamous crash out rant, where she basically said that if you're not a voice actor, your opinion on stuff doesn't matter at all.
Again, the craziest fucking thing about the Karina stuff, she didn't even strike. That's like the craziest thing. It's like, oh, like these people are like scabbing, like shut up, don't talk about it, but she didn't even strike. What is going on? Oh man, that's crazy. That's crazy.
And I think she also said that like you're stupid or something. So yeah.
No, what she said, Jedi, is she said that she needs money, so she's not striking. But then she was shaming other people for scabbing. It's actually like so weird. Like she was being like super righteous about the strike, but like she didn't even strike.
Well, at least Jennifer Hale is acknowledging that this strike does affect many other people than just the voice actors, because that is true. And something that I pointed out myself in response to Karina's crazy rant that was very self-centered and egotistical of her to act like the only people being affected here are gays, when that is certainly not the case. Given as Jennifer Hale said, these things affect the production overall, and something Jennifer Hale didn't say, which is also people consume it, of course. In the case of like Over's games, you know that the gamers bans people to play games, but still, yeah, it's a bigger scope than just the gays. Good that Jennifer Hale is acknowledging that, and maybe Karina can take some notes here. Probably she won't, but who knows? Oh my gosh, guys, I think I outdid Grok. Look at this. Someone in responses asked for context, and Grok responds just talking about like some of the video game strike stuff. But as we know, this is actually likely referring to the whole sad meeting thing. Guys, can I get some praise in the comments for like being smarter than artificial intelligence? I mean, like that's pretty cool, right? But also I'm joking because AI might take over one day. So my apologies to Grok and all the AI out there. I don't want any trouble. Please forgive me.
We're gonna get you, man.
Moving on. Voice actress Allegra Clark, the VA for Beidou in Genshin. I always forgot to say her name. Man, some of these Genshin, like so many of these Genshin names actually are so difficult to pronounce. You wouldn't believe how long it took me to pronounce Shinjo if I'm even saying that right now. But anyways, Allegra Clark responds to Jennifer Hale and says, I'm not privy to anything that happens during negotiations, what the current language is or isn't, or anything along those lines. But I'm genuinely scared that this strike will have done more damage to the industry than anyone could have foreseen, whether AI wins or not. She goes on to say, there's so much ugliness happening in the community, mistrust, accusations, sabotage, and fractured friendships. The stakes of the strike are understandably massive, given that they have to do with how our voices are used in the future, whether we consent to any of it or are paid. Those stakes mean that everyone is on edge and everyone is passionate. But my gosh, I don't recognize.
I'm gonna be real on this part. I actually do understand that part of the strike. The thing that they're worried about, let me explain. So when you do a voice acting project, right, you're basically signing the rights of those voice clips to be used, right? So they can use it for other stuff too. I mean, it depends again on the specifics of the contract. But you know how like sometimes like you'll hear the same voice line like used again for like a commercial or like another thing involving that character, right? What they're worried about is that the broadness of that allows the companies to basically use their voice to train an AI on their voice. Does that make sense? And so they don't want that to happen. And that part I actually understand. Like I totally understand that. Like, that makes sense to me.
The industry compared to last year. This is a freaking nightmare, and I think it needs to end. I don't know what we gain from holding out further on the overall contract. I'm not privy to any specific language and don't know for sure whether what's on the table right now would screw us over royally. But I'm equally concerned for directors, engineers, casting, studios, people whose work's been impacted and frankly will be impacted whether we're paid fairly for our digital doubles or not, given that they won't be hired either. I also know full well that a lot of work is leaving the US, and as someone here, I would like to keep working. Something has to give. I don't know what that looks like or means under the circumstances. I felt like I've had to keep my head down for 9 months because it always seems like my feelings are contrary to what everyone else is saying. I want a fair contract. I want to know that my voice/performances are being used with my consent. I don't like the idea of AI dying art, but I also understand that tech companies that drive game studios need to know that they're not being limited in terms of tech/innovations. I truly hate all of this and wish that SAG had stopped it all outright during the TV film strike in 2023, and know that the interactive NAGCOM is continuing to work with the hand they've been dealt. Quick context, I'm assuming NAGCOM means negotiating committee, like thing we read earlier. It didn't. But for everyone's sake, this strike also needs to end as soon as possible. It is a horrible time to be a voice actor right now. Every conversation is about the strike. Every conversation is about AI. I'm constantly bracing myself, wondering who I can trust. Who's talking about me behind my back? Fans don't trust us. We'll never fully recover from this. I want to know my job will exist in the future, but I also want my job to exist right now. If Jen is angry about it,
Salem says I don't mind if you use AI to create new voices like Hatsune Miku. I don't have a problem with that either, but I think that
Oh,
you should at
cool.
least be aware
I just
that
got
it's
the
going to
Dark
be used for that purpose,
Fuse
but if you feel
precipitant
I
now.
think that's fair. That's a fair ask, I think.
because who
The
cares?
spy
That means
eye.
we need to stop treating everyone, both on the other side of the table and in our own community, like the enemy. So let's pause there.
I
I find this
definitely
particularly
won't like that.
blue sky post from a different voice actor. I think posted from like yesterday, and their take was the complete opposite. This voice actor was saying we need to ignore the fans from the communities who are upset with us, who are criticizing us, basically saying that they're not important and going on to argue that everyone else agrees with us, so just ignore the fans.
Almost
Completely
7.
opposite of what Larry Clark's saying on that specific point. Just thought that was interesting. Continuing with all of this, I'm using terms like contract a little loosely because I'm not in the room and don't know what exists in writing. It's not like there's a piece of paper that nobody is signing right now. I'm under the impression there's still some stuff to discuss. Negotiations are very difficult, and I commend everyone who has participated at the table for the hard work they've put in for the past few years. But it's been a few years now. Even if we've only been striking for 9 months, we need to come to an agreement soon for everyone's sake. Also, I'm home recovering from a sinus infection right now, so if any of my words are wiggly, that's why. Pro tip: don't let your allergies turn into infection. Well, hopefully
Aye, after 11
attempts.
attempts.
Responds to saying, I firmly believe that the strike would be successful if SAG just stick to striking union companies from the list they presented day one. But the moment SAG tried to sneak non-union project into the strike, they lost. This was and still is a poor decision. Sorry for being rude.
Yeah, I think so,
We'll get
yeah.
3 more responses here. The first one saying,
That is the problem, right? That is the problem, is them trying to force a non-union project to be union, which they shouldn't even be in anyway. So that's the issue.
about AI, okay, most of the fans will still side with the A. But after the Kenichi polemics, when the real reason goes to light, I think it's impossible to believe in this fight after that. All of us fans feels like we was betrayed. The next one reading. All I know is that I want the A's to get all the protections that they deserve, regardless of what has happened. That doesn't make anyone any less deserving of proper protections in their work. I wish you all the best and to see the community recover ASAP. And the last one reading. In general, fans have been inclined to side with the actors that give voice to their beloved characters.